Live. Tom Stewart here, Smart Business Moves. I'm with Liz Trotter. It's Thursday. Hey, Liz, how are you?
Good job, Tom. Yeah, good job. Yay. Smart business moves. Woo-hoo. I am doing well. How are you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing awesome. I am.
Okay. I don't have comments on yet. So busy putting on lotion. There we go.
It's been a crazy week. We've been, COVID is, we've been dealing with COVID since, March. And, we're dealing with it in a more real way now than we have. And I say more real way, it's impacting our business more today than it has, from the 10 months preceding this.
Are you talking about you personally, Tom?
I'm talking about our businesses, what we're doing, and within Castle Keepers to be specific. We've got more clients who have it. We've got issues with employees having it, and people having to quarantine. And this is starting to get, and it just looks like the numbers, like in the Southeast, are really starting to spike. I mean, I know they aren't in a lot of parts of the country, but for the most part, we've gotten through relatively, unscathed. I mean, we've lost some business, but, this is, just making things work day to day is becoming a real challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I just had a question today. Actually, I think it might have been Linda's. Wanted to know how people are handling when their customers come down positive. How long do they wait to go in again? Do they wait? Do they do like the electrostatic spraying? How do they manage it? And I thought, oh yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure that there is the right answer. Gosh, I feel like we say that way too much.
Right.
I was telling her that what we do is here in the Pacific Northwest, hey Debbie, is we wait 10 days after their last symptom other than lack of or loss of taste, smell, or fatigue.
Yeah. 10 days seems to be the new number now. It used to be like 2 weeks. And if there's no testing involved, it's 10 days after the last symptom. If somebody tests positive and they're asymptomatic, I'm not sure what you're supposed to do there because maybe, they never had a symptom. And if you do testing, then you can actually squish it down to 7, where I think it's maybe you have to do 2 tests. You do a test and then you wait 7 days. You do a second test and the second test comes back negative. Then you're good at 7 days.
Oh, cool. All right, that's good to know.
If you can get tests, there's some parts of say South Carolina that getting a test you can get in line for a few days before you can even get a test.
Oh yeah, that's terrible. You guys just really haven't been dealing with it like a lot of the other parts of the country, though. Our tests are amazing now. It used to be you had to wait like. Hey Liz. Sorry. It used to be that if in the drawer you go. If you took a test, you could plan on 3 to up to 10 days to get your results back. And now everybody I know that's been tested in the last, let's say, month and a half has gotten their results back in less than 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
My son just got his back in, how many hours was it? I think he went in at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and he got him back 4:30 the next morning. So that's crazy. And that was, a regular go to the clinic place and have the test. It's fast. Not even 24 hours. Wow.
Yeah, that's a big upgrade.
Yeah, it was about 15 hours, something like that, 16 hours.
And there's like 2 different types of tests, and I forget what they're even called. I mean, the rapid test, I guess, has been coming under some fire because the accuracy is kind of not there. The one that you can get the results in like 15 minutes.
Yeah. These?
Oh, are you doing those yourself at the office?
Yes.
Okay.
Just between you and me and all of the Facebook world.
Nobody's watching. You don't have to worry about it. It's just us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they, so far, all of the ones that that I know of that have been done this way. The rapid test has been the same as the actual test.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, my sample is very small. You wouldn't want to go by what Liz says.
I mean, we get, I think it's bulk drug tests or wherever we get our other, like the tests that we do for normal drug testing. I know that they now have the COVID tests. I think supposedly you're supposed to be some healthcare provider or something, but they keep sending me these emails if I want to buy them. They don't give me the price, so I have to ask. I'm supposed to ask them how much it costs, and I haven't been motivated enough to do that yet.
Yeah, I have family members that are medical personnel, so that's how I got them. Yeah.
Vic wants to know, how do you charge for spraying in the best chemical? I know that we're doing some. I can tell you the chemical that we use. We're doing on-site generation of hypochlorous acid, but you got to have the equipment to do it. You can use the brew tabs too, and I know a lot of people are using those. You guys do that, don't you?
Vital oxide. We use vital oxide.
Vital oxide. Okay. How do you guys,
I've heard of the most.
how do you guys charge?
We have a chart. We charge by square foot for homes. Size of the home.
Charging $100 per square foot, or is that $1 per square foot? I don't see it.
100.
That is awesome.
Woo! Well, that kind of makes up for those bad workers' comp rates, then, Leslie.
Yeah, really. I could pay some workers' comp premiums at $100 a foot. I think that's $1 a foot, which would still, well, that's a $2,000
a foot is.
That would still be awesome. Yeah, 2,000 square foot home. No.
We don't get that. There's something wrong there.
Yeah, that's okay, Leslie. Well, you had to,
unless she's including like the hand disinfecting and stuff before she sprays. Maybe it's something like that.
well, gee, roll the clock back. Never mind. We to the, what do we say here? A rate per square foot. Vic wants to do $100 a square foot.
I don't blame you, Vic. I want to do that too. It sounds amazing. Let me look at my little, see if I can find. Yeah, so she's doing it, but that's still great money. 2,000 square foot home. I'm guessing that what you're saying is
$1 a foot. Yeah.
$2,000 for a 2,000 square foot home. We're not getting that. We're not getting anything like that. 2,000 square foot home, we're getting closer to, I think, like 125, 150, something like that.
Well,
but that's on top of if they have cleaning or not. But still, right? Our cleaning isn't, $900, $850.
remember when we had,
How could I forget? Yes.
yeah, I mean, Sharon was on here, Sharon Grammer, and she had some wacky, I mean, it wasn't wacky. I mean, they do it for real, crime scene and stuff like that. They go in with the Ghostbuster suits and all of that. But, I don't think they would touch a job if the bill rate didn't have commas and zeros on it.
I wonder how her situation may have changed or not based on the flooding of all of these people out there doing, I don't know very many companies that aren't doing some type of electrostatic spraying. I just wonder if her her pricing has been impacted in any way, shape, or form, or if she's just had to sort of stay away from COVID or.
Well, it's when we last talked to her, and this was a while ago, she was like sanitizing and disinfecting the electric power generation plant. I mean, these were like high value, high target, essential services, if you will. And I think they would pay a premium for the premium service. And
they have to be guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, she's got all the training, the pedigree for that. So I imagine she's got as much of that work as she wants. We do know more about it though, and it's so much more about the aerosol spread than it is. Back early on, we were really concerned about sanitizing and disinfecting surfaces, and I mean it's still a risk, but I think
Much
that we know more now than we did then.
Yeah. Vic, you might try just calling around to your competitors in your area to find out what people in your area are charging. I've heard just wildly different numbers. And so at least some of that has to be geographically driven.
Yeah. You want to jump into where we left off the other day?
I do.
Well, we wanted to take a minute, I guess, and just kind of step back and explain what we're doing here and where we're going with this. We've talked a lot about these particular metrics and why they're important, and we've really been drilling on this loaded direct payroll to revenue. I updated my titles there a little bit. You like that?
Oh yeah,
That's pretty good. These numbers exist in my business, Liz's cleaning business, everyone who has got a cleaning business. They have all these numbers. We all do. We might not measure them. We might not necessarily capture the data that's necessary in order to calculate them. We might not know what all of those numbers are, but they exist. The things are going on inside of your business that will, that generates these numbers. And if you know these numbers, that's one step closer to being able to get the outcomes that you really want in your business. Because the fact of the matter is these numbers exist and they go up and down. It doesn't always mean that the green numbers are going up and the red numbers go down. Sometimes it's the opposite. And the whole point of this is you can either let these numbers do what they're going to do, or you can take control of your business and make these numbers go in the direction that you want them to go to get the outcomes that you want to get. So all of this is about helping you take control of your business. And 2020, obviously,
profits.
Yeah, all about the profit. And we've been talking about why profit's important, and it's because we're greedy, right? We're old man Potter.
No, we're not.
What are we?
That's the whole point. But you have to take control of your profits, and you need to feel like you can control your profits so that you can decide how you're going to use them. You can decide. Actually, you can decide to be old man Potter if you want. That's up to you. But you got to have profits to even be old man Potter. We're not on board with that idea. But again, that's your decision what you do with them. But you got no decisions if you don't have profit.
But if you do have profit, and even more importantly, predictable profit, then you can have a lot of fun in your business. And the people that work for you can have a lot of fun in your business. And the people who you provide service to can have a lot of pleasure and enjoyment in using your business. So when you're profitable, we've said this a few times, we'll be saying it a bunch more. You can create awesome jobs, you can provide awesome service, and you can build an awesome business. And you've got more control of your personal life. You have an opportunity to build a lifestyle that you want to build. Yeah. And being profitable doesn't mean that, you do everything to make every last dollar that you can make. You might make some decisions that don't give up some net profit in order to get more free time to do some things. And those are legitimate, choices too, but you've got control. You've got control of your business, and you can control these green numbers and red numbers. You can control how much money you're making, and you can decide how much money you want to make. And by driving these numbers, you can make it, and you can predict when you're going to be making it.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier today, Liz and I, and
I like what Leslie says. Agreed. So fun. So I want Tom all the time about like getting so much fun and enjoyment out of these numbers, but I think that you're right, Leslie. It is so fun. When you feel like you're in control of these numbers, it's fun. When you don't, when you feel like a victim to these numbers, like you're just watching them and they're moving and you don't know what to do, that's not fun. So we want it to be more fun. It's awesome that you're thinking it's fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun having a good idea, being able to predict what the numbers are going to look like, how much money you're going to have in your bank account next month and the month after that and the year after that. Things happen like, dear God, a global pandemic, that's an unprecedented event that can put a big dent in, your net profit. And some things happen that will screw up your predictions. But knowing these numbers, what changes you can make in your business to get a whole lot better outcomes. You don't want to be laying in bed, 2:00 in the morning on a Thursday, trying to figure out how you're going to make payroll tomorrow, or trying to figure out, am I going broke and I don't even know it? And I'm saying that because we've all been there, right? At one point or another, it's like we're laying in bed worrying about, the financial health of your business and just hoping it's okay. Well, hoping's not a strategy. It's, and even if you're making money, even if there's, money in the bank at the end of the month, that could be an accident. It's not always because you are in control, and things can change and you don't even know it's changing until one day you look up and there is no money in the bank. So this stuff is really important. What's Leslie telling us here? Okay, it is fun. It is. Play the pandemic game.
Huh. But she's right, because it's just part of the game. When you're playing any game, sometimes you're winning, sometimes you're losing. And the goal is, when you're losing any game, try harder, push harder until you're winning again. And that's all the pandemic has been for us.
So we want to show you how to make it happen rather than let it happen. We want to get you to the point where you can get predictable outcomes. So you're just not wondering and hoping. Publicly traded companies will tell you how much revenue they're going to generate next quarter, what their profits are going to be next quarter. And they're pretty good at that. And they usually hit those numbers or exceed them. The price that people pay for stock today is based on the anticipated cash flow of the future, and they've got predictable outcomes. And I mean, large corporations, some of the best companies in the world, that's why they're the best companies in the world, and they can't function unless they're able to do that. They understand their numbers, they understand what drives their numbers, they understand the leading indicators, and they know how to make the green numbers go up and the red numbers go down.
And that's the key piece right there. They know, not just that they know how to make them to go up and go down, but that they are able to make it happen. So that's another thing that we don't talk a lot about. And I don't really want to get into that too much right now, Tom, because that is a concept that is harder for people to grasp when they're first starting to look at this stuff. It seems really easy. It's like, just tell me what to do, I can make it happen. But it is a lot more than just knowing what to do. I talk about snowboarding a lot. You can watch all the snowboarding videos that you want. You could watch 1,000 of them, and you can really be confident that you now know how to snowboard. But I don't care who you are. I don't care how many videos you watch. The second you get on the snowboard, on the snow, your reality is not the same.
You're going to be sitting on your butt.
Mm-hmm. And maybe you won't be sitting on your butt. Maybe you really are some sort of an amazing athlete that can learn really well, but your reality is different. I promise you, when you get on the snowboard, get in the snow, and what you have to do takes on a whole new meaning than just what you watched, what you heard, what you learned. So learning is not the same as doing. All right.
So putting we want to be able to take control of our business, and that's the overarching point of all of this. And the first step is talking about what we need to do and the ways that we can get the what's that we're looking to get. But what Liz is talking about is the execution part of it. And that's a whole nother animal. If it was as simple as knowing the what part of it, I would have a ton more money in the bank than I do. This is knowing the what really is the easy part, right?
Yeah, it really is.
It's the execution. It's getting it done. But we're going to help with that too.
Yep. Make it happen. All right. So what are we talking about specifically today, Tom?
Okay. Well, just to tie it together, we are within this whole realm of the red numbers and the green numbers. We're on the loaded direct payroll to revenue, the LDPR, and that is a really important number. We've talked about that. I could go back up and show the model with the cash flowing around, but we've done that enough, so we don't need to do that anymore. Unless you really want me to. Okay.
I don't know. We might have to have you do it later, Tom.
Okay. So we gone through the ideas and the pointers and the techniques and the tactics we can use to reduce our labor load, and we're really drilling down on the training expense at this point.
Yep.
So let's see where we were with that yesterday. We actually had some spreadsheets that we were playing around with some numbers, but the point is that it's the total training expense, and it really isn't so much about what you're paying per trainee. It's about the number of trainees that you're training, and the number of techs that you're training, and a huge part of that is your turnover.
Well, it is about the number, because you do need to know what that number is, because you got to have a clear understanding of how much it is per trainee to give you a little bit of context for, well, how many can I even afford to be bringing on and training? If your turnover is so great that you can't even sustain it, then that's a really important thing to know. And that happens for people. They're like, yeah, everything was great. My payroll percent of revenue was awesome. And then training hit. And then I got into a perpetual state of training for 4 months and, almost lost my nut there.
Your what?
Oh, shoot. Yeah, that's a term for like your money that's in held in back. Hold on. Shoot. I got it.
You said your butt.
No.
No. Okay. Okay. So this whole reduce the employee turnover has a profound impact on our training expense. And the part about this that's not always intuitive is a lot of times if you spend more money per trainee, they feel better about their job. They have a better idea as to what's expected of them. They have more respect for the type of work that you're asking them to do in your organization as a whole, because you've onboarded them in a proper way and they know what they're going to want to, what you expect of them and what you want them to do. There's a long list of, I guess, reasons that people don't want to work. Nobody signs up for a job with your company with the idea that it's going to suck and I'm not going to work there, right?
Right.
They go in there with the idea that, this is something that I want to do. I mean, there might be a rare exception, but
I think there is a good chunk of people that are like, I know I'm going to hate this, but I have to do what I've got to do this until I can find something better. I think there's a good chunk of people that come to our industry thinking that.
But you know what? And I know that this is where you're going with this, that if you can do an awesome job of onboarding them and impressing upon them that you run a professional business and this is a profession, you can flip that opinion.
Absolutely. Agreed. But I do think a lot of times the people that we are initially attracting are not people that think they're going to love this job.
Mm-hmm.
And initially they might not love this job because they, for a lot of different reasons. Um, we talk a lot about when people go home after that very, very first day. They need to go home with a great attitude, because what they're going to be met with at the door is typically something like, "You did what today? Ew, how can you stand that job?" So they have to have they have to be able to walk into their house with something that looks like, "Oh my gosh, it was so much better than I thought it was going to be. Yay, yay, yay," to sort of combat that first day blues from the family members and friends. Who Not a lot of people, if you were to ask people outside of our industry, what do you think? Um, One of the top 10 jobs out there, is it cleaning houses? Not a lot of people are going to say, "Yeah, yeah, that sounds like a great job." No, that's just not a thing.
No.
Mm-mm.
But you know what? A lot of the people that you hire, that I hire, that we hire, this isn't the first job that they took that they thought was going to be less than a fun and exciting and excellent job, right?
Absolutely agreed. A lot of times the people that come to our jobs are coming here because in their mind, this is one of the best types of jobs that I personally can get.
So if you can impress upon them at the beginning, and I guess this really even starts before you hire them, the whole interview onboarding,
Yeah.
process. You can flip people. It's like, dang, I've worked with other organizations, other companies that didn't have their stuff together nearly as well as, this cleaning company does.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So are we going to talk about training expense, Tom, and all the different things that go into that? We talked about it a little bit. We talked about it quite a bit, actually. We talked about the actual training materials, the time that is spent, that you're paying them to be learning instead of actually producing revenue. We talked about the trainer's time that is spent with the trainee and not producing revenue as well. So if we were going to write here, as far as reduced training expense, what would we put here? We wouldn't say reduce trainee salary. What would we say?
We would be
Just a definition. This is not how.
no. This is interesting because you talked about how you get into the cycle of, I can't hire people, I'm not hire them, I can't keep them.
Yeah.
And we go into it with the idea that I can't afford to spend but so much on training. And what winds up happening is we start lowballing. We say that we can't afford but spend so much on training. And it's really about this total number, but we attack it by reducing what we spend here per training.
Yeah.
And my whole point here is, if that's happening to you, take a leap of faith and spend more here. And you'll find, or you very well might find, that you're getting closer to the solution where the number of people you're having to train goes down, making this overall expense go down.
So I think what you're saying here, Tom, is it's very similar to, you have to pick which thing you're going to focus on, because there's always a lot of stuff to focus on. When we're deciding which number to focus on first, we decided to work on the LDPR because that number is going to have the biggest impact. So I think what you're saying is same thing here. Instead of focusing on how much money you spend per trainee, because that number you can change and you can reduce it, but the overall effect will be so much smaller than if you put your time, efforts, and energy into the number of technicians or cleaning professionals that you're training. So don't put your focus on the dollars per trainee, because that's too small of a number. the other number is so much bigger that it just doesn't make sense to be focusing in on reducing the dollar per trainee, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And the techniques, and we're going to be talking more about this next week, Liz, and I know that you're going to be sharing a lot of your best practices and tips on how to manage the turnover, because training expense is profound, and we can show that on the P&Ls. We had a sample P&L the other day in terms of that can be 10% more of your labor costs over the course of the year if you're dealing with any type of real turnover. And that's just money coming directly out of your net profit because your cost of goods sold is going up. And it's really about the turnover. And it says reduce training expense, but the primary leading indicator on that is the turnover. So how do you reduce the turnover? A lot of marvelous things happen if you can reduce the turnover. And
remember, when we're saying reduce the turnover, what we mean is reduce the number of cleaning professionals that you train, that you spend time, energy, effort, training, money, right? Spend your resources on. So the resources are kind of fixed, and you've got to get that number of cleaning professionals managed better, because that number is all over the place for people. But the resource number is not. Will you be discussing employee retention strategies for new employees? That's underneath my little.
Here you go.
Thanks.
In the first 90 days.
Yes, we will. We will be talking.
That'll be something that you'll be covering next week, Liz.
Next week. Yep, we'll be talking about that next week. But for today, what we're talking about today, like what are some of the different things that you can do that you need to be thinking about in terms of having fewer techs trained? Not worried about the trainee salary, the trainer salary, it's Robin. Hey, Robin. And not the third-party material and programs. All right. So, but I have a question here, Tom, before we move on to the next piece. And that is, so does it even matter what I pay? Why do people talk about them with the trainee salary? That always becomes a conversation like, oh no, I only pay minimum wage for training, for trainees. Why? Why would you only pay minimum wage then? If that number is really inconsequential, why not pay more?
I'm going to suggest that your trainee salary and your trainer salary isn't even where you really want to focus. I mean, there's bounds of reasonability that we all know that.
But that's where everybody focuses.
But you just touched upon it.
Okay.
If you're paying like minimum wage to trainees, you're going to be attracting a different population than if you're paying something that is material amount more than minimum wage. You want to be from a who's our friend Mel Kleiman will tell you that in order to hire somebody, what draws people to a new job is pay. That's the biggest, one of the biggest things in terms of somebody saying, do I want to work for this company? Now, once they get there, if they stay, has to do a lot more with a lot of other things. Mel Kleiman says that. You might not agree.
I might have to argue with Mel just a little bit because I don't know. I think that people are motivated by things a lot more than pay. Everybody needs a certain base pay to be able to meet their, and again, we're looking at the, what's it called, Tom? Our triangle.
The Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Again, we're looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Everybody needs to have those base level needs met by the pay. But then after that, people's motivators begin to kick in, and people don't typically look for jobs just based on pay. If that was true, nobody would apply at McDonald's or any of the low place low paid places.
Well,
That would
that's true. They do. If that's the best bad alternative they have, maybe they can't get a job anywhere else, and that kind of.
there you go. Because that's not where.
If you're paying minimum wage, there's a likelihood that the people that are applying for that are the ones that have applied for all the jobs that were starting on at $15 an hour, and they just can't, get their foot in the door. And it gets to the point where, maybe these guys will hire me. They're paying minimum wage, so the competition obviously isn't going to be as stiff. This has been our experience.
Say it again.
I'm sorry?
Say that again for me.
If you raise your starting rate for training, you're going to get more candidates applying for that job.
More people, yeah. Not necessarily higher quality people, but more.
But if you just have more in general, and if you accept statistically that there's like a normal curve, and you're going to, if I've got 1,000 people to choose from as opposed to 10 people, the likelihood of having some really good people out of that population of 1,000 is
more.
Is 100 times greater than it is if I only had to pick from 10.
Yeah. If 1% of all of the people that apply to your business are higher quality people, or higher functioning maybe, or higher skilled, then if you only have 10 people come in, there's only one person there that's going to be in that realm. Where if you bring in 1,000, we got a good chunk of people now that could be better. So I'll give you that all day long.
But let's take that a step further, though.
Okay.
But if I've had success, and if I do have game, and if I have reliable transportation, I've had real jobs in the past, and I have skills, then I'm not even going to apply for a job that's starting me out at minimum wage. I am less likely to.
I'll give you that. But on the flip side of that, I'm also not going to apply for a house cleaning job, because they're not quality jobs, regardless of what they say they pay.
I'm not sure if I agree with that. I think there's some people out there that actually have been in the house cleaning world for several years, a number of years, have made good coin doing it, but they know they have game, and they've worked with a lot of people who suck, and they know the difference. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm saying people that have never been in our industry before.
Okay.
So, and a lot of people that have been in our industry before, because there are a lot of bad places to work for too. There are a lot of not great companies in our industry and outside of our industry to work for. I mean, but I think we agree that we got to be a good employer in multiple ways. And I hope we agree that being a good employer does not just mean offering the best wage.
No, I do agree with that. Okay. However, offering, if the idea is to minimize my payroll to revenue, which all of this is under, a lot of people interpret that as, well, I just need to pay lower wages.
Yeah.
And you can get to a point where if you're paying too low a wage, you're going to wind up driving up your turnover, and your actual payroll to revenue is going to go up because you aren't paying enough. Am I explaining this right? There's a point where sometimes you can pay a higher wage and reduce your payroll to revenue to a point.
So what I'm going to say to that is, yes, here's the thing. You either have to offer more money, or you have to be more skilled at giving people MMA, matter, meaning, measure, and accountability. If you can show people that your job brings meaning to the world, especially the people that are attracted to our job, the age range especially, if you can show them that they matter in some strong way, and then if you can give them a good measure that shows them that they are successful and that they are good in their mind, then you can pay less. But here's the thing. Most people can't do that. Most people do not know how to bring matter, meaning, measure, and accountability into their companies. And to those people, I say, absolutely, you got to charge more. I mean, you got to pay more. You have to pay more, because the millennials of today, many of them will work for, actually, they'd rather donate their time and bring meaning to the world than get paid more money. That's a thing. For those of y'all that haven't recognized that, ask, pay attention. There's people out there that are donating their time, volunteering to work places at minimum wage or even less, just so that they can bring meaning to the world.
And I'm going to also suggest, and we've experienced this some ourselves, Liz, that, there are, regional differences, differences in how
100%.
culture and how the labor market works from one city to the next. And,
100% I agree there, Tom. Atlanta, right? What's minimum wage in Atlanta? 7.25 or something?
7.25, right.
Not that you could pay 7.25, but that's the minimum wage. So if you pay a couple of dollars above minimum wage, that looks like a decent wage. That's you're paying, let's say that you're going to pay $11, $12. That's so much above minimum wage that it looks decent. Well, besides the fact that over here where I live, $12 is not even legal, right? It's below minimum wage by a good hefty chunk. That if you are going to try and pay even $1 more than minimum wage, that does not sound like very much money here. And that's $16 an hour. That looks like a lot more than it does in other parts of the country. So absolutely, I agree that the geography really plays a huge part. And also the mentality of the area that you live in. So I know on the West Coast, it started over here on the West Coast where everybody's more about, $15 an hour has to be minimum wage, and they're pushing it across the country. And now $15 doesn't even sound like a decent amount of money over here. 4 years ago, when they were talking about $15 an hour needing to be the minimum wage, that sounded like a lot of money to a lot of people. Were like, yeah, that'll be a living wage. Let's do that. Let's make that happen. Well, it's happening as it's happening. It's shrinking along with the increases everywhere else. And people aren't happy with the idea of $15 an hour now. I mean, you try to put out an ad saying that we pay $15 an hour, you won't get one applicant. Not one.
And in the markets where 15 is the minimum wage.
Yep.
In markets where 7.25 is the minimum wage, 15 will, get you a lot of traction.
You get a lot of traction. Yep.
So,
but I still want to make the point that today our industry is not looked upon in a wonderfully golden light. People don't look at people from the outside of our industry. Do not look on our industry as a golden opportunity. That's not a thing.
I will give you that. If you interview kids in grade school, what do you want to be when you grow up? The number of them that say I want to be a professional house cleaner is probably hard to measure.
Find me one. The only ones that are doing that are our kids. Right? Our kids, when they're little, are like, oh yeah. Or our employees' kids. I have a lot of my employees' kids come to work for me. One of my employees' grandkids just came to work for me yesterday. So that is a thing. Families, once it's in the family, okay, people are like, okay, this is actually a really good job. There are a lot of benefits to this job. But outside the industry, maybe not so much.
Right.
So hoping not to be pulling things too off track, you guys. I hope that you understand that. So Tom and I don't plan these conversations in advance. For those of you that
do you feel like you have to explain that, Liz?
I do, because in the past, people have said things like, yeah, you guys plan that all out. Yeah, no, we don't, y'all. So it might seem like we are going to be agreeing on things, and we're going at opposing sides for entertainment value or because we're doing this on purpose. No,
It's
these
like
are our,
professional wrestling. The whole thing's scripted.
no, these are our actual thoughts, and we're not always in alignment on a lot of these things. Where we are in alignment is the bottom line idea that the number of technicians, cleaning professionals that are getting trained in your company is key. And so that number has to go down, right? The amount of money that you pay per trainee, no, I don't really have an opinion on that too much. As long as you are having a good trainee program, a program that is actually educating your people, great. But other than that, it's the number of cleaning professionals that you train that is really key. If you serve the client first, clients want to know the cleaners care.
Cleaners care. It can be a golden opportunity if you serve the client first. Clients want to know the cleaners care. Those who care get paid tips, bonuses, and they can be very large. That's true.
I think people in our industry, people that have gotten into this industry, can see it as a golden opportunity. Absolutely. I'm only talking about the people that are outside of our industry, the people that are looking at us from maybe the client's perspective or from another employee's perspective. They've never worked at this job. There are very few times where you see somebody who's never had a job in this industry and doesn't know about this industry that's like, let me think, what kind of a job would I like to have? I'm 24, I need a job. What sounds really good? Yeah, cleaning houses for a living. That's just not really a thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yet. And I'm not saying that it can't be, because that's part of what we're trying to do, Tom. That's part of what we're trying to do, is make it so that this job is looked at in a completely different way, that it is seen as a professional job, just like any other job that people might want to get. Like, I don't know, what sounds better? Electrician, a beautician, a professional house cleaner. Yeah, they're all kind of even. I just got to see which one seems like one I would enjoy more. That's what we want.
So, how you market the opportunity, how you market your company, how you build a community, and if you have awesome jobs, and if your team members think it's an awesome job and an awesome place to work, you build a community and you get referrals, and some of the best people that you can hire are people that are what they call passive candidates. An active candidate in the job market is somebody that doesn't have a job and needs to make rent next week, and they need a job. They need it now. Passive candidate is somebody who has a job, isn't even really looking for another job, but comes to the conclusion that those guys really have something cool over there. My friend works there, and my friend thinks they're awesome. So, I think I'd like to do something different. I think I'd like to give that a try.
Yeah.
Those candidates get better outcomes as a rule, right?
Absolutely. Agreed. Yeah. Is that a hard and fast rule? No. But most of the time, you get better outcomes from those people, for sure. So reducing the number of new hires that you have to train, we all agree, that's the thing. So now the trick becomes how do you reduce the number of people that you're having to train? Well, reducing the employee turnover is really the biggest piece. And again, I'm going to go to, it could go both ways. It could just be how many people, just based on no reason, like, okay, I don't want to hire more than 10 people because the expense is too much. But if you're growing, then you absolutely hiring more than 10 people. That's awesome. Training more than 10 people. If you need to hire 25 people to be able to support your growth and you're training 25 people, that is a different story than training 25 people to support the growth that only needed one person. Yeah. That's a different story.
Even if you're hiring more people to support growth, you might find that your loaded direct payroll to revenue number might be creeping up.
Yeah.
But if that number is bigger, but if your revenue is bigger, if you're cleaning more homes, you're still going to be more profitable.
Or more money. So not thinking percentage sometimes, but
I'm talking about hardcore. You don't spend percentages. At the end of the day, you put food on the table with the money.
Yeah.
And then, in time, if the growth starts to level off, then you can get that, loaded payroll to revenue number back down.
Up that percentage again. So the numbers, I loved what Tom said earlier. This is something I don't think we hammer on very often, is that the green numbers go up, the red numbers go down. But the truth of the matter is the green numbers go up and down, and the red numbers go up and down. And they're constantly going up and down, up and down, up and down. Your job is to make the green numbers go up as much as you can and get the red numbers to go down as much as you can, but not to be freaked out when they're moving all over the place, because that's the nature of business. They will be moving all over the place. Our service businesses are not static at all. So they're going to be doing that. But what we're planning through this exercise of these smart business moves is to get you to understand how to move with that and how to make the changes that you need to make to have control of your company.
To make it happen rather than let it happen, because they're going to move.
Just watching it.
Regardless of what you do, they're going to move. But if you do the right things, they're going to move in the direction you want them to go.
Yeah. They're going to be more moving up than doing this, and have more and right instead of this. So all right. So
we're going to drill more on some of these points next week, and we'll have examples and some real numbers. All of this is important and all of it matters. Any one of these things by itself doesn't necessarily get you, necessary but sufficient. In order to be sufficient, you got to get it right in a number of areas. One last thing I want to make sure that we touch upon before we leave. And by the way, there's more things that you can do to reduce training expense than just these things. Maybe we can, then these three things, we can talk about that some next week as well. The thing that I don't want us to do is get into the mentality, though, of less is better. Oftentimes, spending more per person is going to lower your overall cost within bounds of reasonability. I mean, at some point it can get ridiculous, and that's not true. But usually my observation, and I've done this a few times and worked with a lot of different cleaning business owners, we're wrong on the side of not making a sufficient investment in our human capital.
Yeah.
Not paying them enough, not investing enough in training, and not investing enough in the support services and the coaching and the culture and the other things that make it an enjoyable, attractive place to work. And by not making that investment, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to take that money, I'm going to put that in my pocket, but it's going to result in, lower performance, lower quality, more employee turnover, more client turnover. It's not conducive to building, the great jobs, the great service, and the great business.
I got to say one more thing, though, with that, Tom. I think that most business owners are not of the mindset that they're going to pay less for that and then they're going to put it in their pocket. Usually what they're doing is, I'm going to pay less on that so that I can put more into marketing, because I'm going to sell more, and I'm going to grow that way. That's how I'm going to grow. And then they go into that, right?
You are right. Marketing is kind of the holy grail. It's an illusion. There's way too many people out there that look at the sales funnel, and I gotta spend more to get more leads, and that's how I make more money. And that's part of it. That's necessary. That gets back into, that's part of the green numbers, but that's just one of them.
Yeah.
And if you don't have some of the other greens and moving up and reds going down. I mean, we've seen it. We know people who spend a lot of marketing, get a ton of leads, and will say that, I don't have time to follow up on all these leads. I mean, they don't even, make the phone call.
Yeah. Yeah. We know, actually, I know quite a few people that have said that. Quite a few, more than just, the one or two. So, and then they have to turn off their leads, and then they get into that bad cycle. You guys all know that. I'm sure you've all dealt with that cycle at least once or twice. The same as with the hiring cycle, right? Hire. Good. Turn off all the ads. We're good. Now we're going to train and we're going to get everybody going. And we're losing a person. We're losing a couple of people. We're learning another person. Oh no, now we need to hire again, right? That up or down, feast or famine. Same thing with marketing.
Well, what you just mentioned is under this production planning piece. Mm-hmm. I would suggest there's probably more than two types of bad hires, but we talk about two types of bad hires within our organization. One bad hire is I really do need to hire somebody, but I didn't hire the right person. I didn't select a candidate that was a good fit in my organization. The other type of bad hire is I hired somebody that I really didn't even need at that time. I didn't have enough work at that instance to really utilize that person. I could have cleaned the homes that I already had at that point in time with the staff that I currently had. Now, you always want to have a little bit of unused capacity to, grow and to take on more revenue, but you can hire too many people. And once you do that, you're going to have turnover because you don't have enough work for everybody. Either that, or you're paying a whole bunch of people and getting a very low payroll to revenue number because you're paying them, but we're not really generating any revenue because you don't have enough work for all the people you have. And that eventually results in turnover as well. Those are two mistakes that are commonly made: hiring the wrong person and actually onboarding them and trying to make it work, rather than deciding that first couple of days that no, this isn't a good fit, or hiring people that you don't even have work for. Sometimes I don't think that we really think about that second scenario as a bad hire. But
yeah,
that happened before. We've seen that happen before. I've made those mistakes. It's like, just hire people. And that's really great. But at some point it's like, well, I don't have work for these people. And if you don't have work for people, you're either going to burn a ton of cash to kind of keep them along. And even that has a lot of unintended consequences that, if people are used to getting a paycheck without having to clean homes, then when you do get busy and you ask them to clean homes, that's kind of a culture shock.
Yeah.
Well, I was making money last week. You didn't even make me clean anything. How come you asked me to clean these homes now?
So I guess there are some ways around that. But I would tend to agree that those are two types of bad hires. I think there are more, but I definitely think that those are two strong ones. Yeah. I don't think it's a really big, bad deal, though. I think I would rather have too many people than too few. Burning out your people and having turnover because you're overworking your people, I think that's worse. And that's harder.
It's purely a matter of degrees and how you want to define too many. But whatever the number too many is, if you exceed that, you can get yourself in a situation where your payroll to revenue number is, so high. It could be 100%. It could be more than 100%. So you don't, there's a whole exercise called production planning where the labor content of the work that you have, and the work that you're getting, and the work. That's where the red numbers and the green numbers come in, because if you have those, you can actually predict the number of labor hours that you're going to need next week and the week after and week after, and how long it onboards a new person. It doesn't have to be guesswork. It's a matter of letting it happen versus making it happen. This is a way that you can manage your business and take control of your business, where you're hiring, when you need people, as opposed to hiring because you just aren't sure if you do or not, and you don't want to be sure.
Yeah.
And
all right, so Tom, it's past time right now. So real quick, what is our number that we're working on next week?
Next week, we're going to be talking a lot more about this employee turnover number. Okay. And Liz is going to be bringing to us a lot of the techniques that we can incorporate in our business to reduce that turnover. And at the same time, we'll have some examples and models of showing how if we make that turnover number go down, how that affects the red numbers and the green numbers, and how, we talk about turnover and we kind of know that's bad, but I think that we really aren't as aware, once we become fully aware of how much that affects profit, I think turnover will become a lot more important to us. We'll all be putting a higher priority on turnover by this time next week.
And everybody be bringing your ideas. What are you doing different in a COVID-19 world? How are you having to modify your behaviors, your employee turnover behaviors? Because things are different now, right? The things that were working in 2019 are not working in the way that they would work now. All right, we're past time.
Okay, guys, you guys have an awesome weekend. We'll be back here Monday, and we'll be picking up on taking control of our business in 2021. Bye-bye.
Bye.